Today?
Hey, Tom, how are you?
Very well.
Good drive?
Yeah. I was having to, where did I stop? Maybe curriculum. You know, it was a new Loves. I was going into Loves. A new Loves and one of the new roundabouts.
Mhm.
It's one of the first ones I think I've really seen that was, I mean, it's definitely built for trucks and truck traffic,
Right.
you know.
And
It's actually going in, they had two lanes that would go off on the hill where the truck stop was, but then another was actually the through lane. So that was kind of an interesting, design of it.
So maybe had 3 lanes then?
Well, but there was a divide and there was a piece of an island between the two, and the other, but others, people that, in speaking of roundabouts have expressed concern with, you know, the trailers, you know, having a truck trouble, possibly going over the middle. I mean, there's a big difference in radius needed for a tractor trailer versus,
Right.
you know. And so, and then with the merging, you know, other people are just, no, we don't want anything to do with, trucks on in a roundabout.
Right.
Or use it there, but this was, they were separated. It separated what would be, I assume, the car traffic. It would go up into the circle itself, and then they had the 2 lanes over there. And then when it came down, you got into the, but it was only on that one. It was just, obviously was, everything was designed with the truck stop and roundabout
Right.
at the same time.
They accommodated.
Yeah, and it's a pretty good size. They took up a lot of area, but, anyway, it was interesting. That was worth the whole trip. Because trucks and just, truck parking is just nationwide, over in Illinois, it's just a real problem. So truck parking at night, you know, they're just all over the place.
Right.
And, you know, it's all due to the rather new, somewhat new, I guess, actually, it's probably maybe now 20 years, but with the restriction, the limitations on driving time, where they all have to stop, you know,
Right.
and
I think 10 hours a day now.
yeah, and that's, you know, and I know, friends that still drive, you know, but it's not a lot of fun sitting wherever for another 10-hour period. That's where in fact, we did a truck study, parking study, and up in Chicago, I don't know how, you know, it's just a real, because they'll have them off in the neighborhoods.
Oh, wow.
Well, they just, it's not so easy. You can just find a place to park.
Right.
So it's just someplace that's, it's, interesting. That's where these gloves, especially at least over, yeah, I think pretty much in the Midwest, and they're expanding. We're seeing them just every year. There's new ones popping up.
We've got a couple new ones coming us. We're looking to locate
Yeah,
in our district.
yeah.
I guess that's good for business. So.
Yeah, well, and
good for.
and you know, safety issue, it's just, all. Sure, and the fuel sales.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. I love it because we want to go everywhere. We're just gonna wait.
Okay. Yeah. My sister's. She said she didn't ask me. So, I don't have.
They're trained by them, Jim.
But I do.
Last night, maybe,
Can I do this?
you need to start working on a bridge, right?
Yeah. Good. I thought they were doing it all day.
He did.
I am, I'm sure they're doing a little bit of stuff without screens, but probably better than I do. I've heard we picked up quite a bit.
Yeah.
Three sisters.
You know, utilities were a challenge in the subgrade, but once they figured it out,
Out here it's going pretty well, man.
courthouse looks nice.
Yeah.
It does.
It does. It was just cooperated with them, now it's not letting them do it, this.
I can't argue for a couple of weeks after 2 years of being a drought.
Yeah.
So I mean,
A little bit, so
yeah,
you don't need to go the other way, extreme. How much we do?
more issues on Chester because it's all coming from up north. So they've been down a week, week and a half.
You guys are coming, you're coming.
How they doing?
Okay, we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. Start with introductions. I'm Jeremy Tans, Seymour Regional Planning Commission.
Alex McAvoy, SEMPO staff.
Roger Bollinger, City of Jackson, I'll be voting for Mayor House today. Jim Rose, City of Jackson.
Drew Christian, Seymour RPC.
Mark Horkin, MoDOT.
Tom Caldwell, IDOT.
Joe Killian, MoDOT.
Marla Mills, KLG Engineering, central staff. Jenny Smith, CTA.
Dave Whitcamp for our administration.
Jeffrey Whittington. Coming in, we have Charlie Herbst. And online, we have Mayor Stacy Kinder. And for the notes, we did have Michael Green out now. See if there's something back.
The intern.
That will take a motion
No, either
to
one.
adopt the agenda.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It stands. The copy of the minutes is there in front of you and they were emailed out prior. So you've had a chance to review. We take a motion to approve the minutes.
Move to approve the minutes.
Second. Have a motion. Mr. Roach, second, Mr. Ernst, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. I have no communications to share at this point, so we'll move on. Any public comments? Hearing none, we'll go on to no unfinished business. Item A, election of officers for fiscal year 2025.
So this chairmanship would be for one fiscal year. Currently, Jeremy Tans is our chairman and our vice chair is Mayor Haas. Yeah, Mayor Haas. So would anybody be willing to volunteer to relieve them of their responsibilities here?
Everybody jump at once.
Yeah. And I shared with Jeremy, I start this a little early. We technically will have the month of June to select the chairman and a vice chair. And even a little bit more difficult because we have Jim Rhodes pending retirement. I'm sure he doesn't want to task his successor with the chairmanship right away. We also have the county and transit technically switching voting roles come July 1. Although we may have,
I'll switch to the road.
yes, Mark will be a voting member of the. He's smiling.
Alex, if did I hear you correctly? We have another month to decide this or no?
We do. So if folks would like to table it and think about it, and then have some suggestions for June. We do technically, our fiscal year ends June 30, so
Okay.
the chairman will start July.
Well, why don't I talk? I'd be happy to talk more with you and with Jeremy about how I might fill in there. So if we have more time, I'll just say I'll consider it.
Okay. A motion to table,
Moving table.
Motion from Mr. Herbst,
Second.
second, Mr. Roach. All in favor?
Aye.
that's the one table that you get for this agenda.
Okay, we'll move on to item B, 2024 MoDOT unfunded needs list.
Okay, I have different handouts here for you. Two of them are the 8.5 by 14. One of them is just a 1-page 8.5 by 11 that shows our tiered projects. MoDOT had informed us that they need their unfunded needs list provided to them by the end of May. So our planning committee met earlier this month and reviewed these projects. I provided them what we provided MoDOT back in 2023, and they reviewed the list. They didn't add any projects, but they did add a tiered project, but tier 2. And that was the Bloomfield Bridge overpass of I-55. We'll first look at the road and bridge, which is this 8.5 by 14 front and back. We'll see the tier project first on this, starting from tier 1 all the way down to tier 3. And then the other unfunded needs, which we haven't tiered yet. As a quick summary, tier 1 projects are meant to be projects that have identified solutions. They could be accomplished within a 5-year time frame. And all that really is needed at this point is the funding, so the project comes to completion. Tier 2 projects are projects that may have a little bit of scoping. It may not have a complete defined solution yet. And it would be more of a 5 to 10 year project out if funding were available. And then tier 3 is an extension of tier 2. It's just even further out, with probably zero scoping and a lot of options of solutions that still need to be contemplated. So for road and bridge right now, in tier 1, we have US 61, Shawnee Boulevard intersection improvements. This was on the 2023 list as well. And then on tier 1, under the safety category, we have 3025. That was the addition of shoulders on 25 from Route K to Missouri 34 and 72. Last year, we reduced the scope of the project a little bit, simply to save on cost of the project. We reduced the shoulder width, or the proposed shoulder width, from 10 feet to 6 feet. We still felt as if that would be able to accommodate both bicyclists and pedestrians on that roadway safely. And that effectively reduced the project cost by about $4 million. For tier 2, last year we had the exit 93 interchange. That's the complete redesign, not what currently is being proposed with the rehabilitation of the bridge deck. And then what was added by our planning committee was the Bloomfield Bridge overpass of I-55. What we had said about that was there's a need for it to be wider to accommodate at least 3 lanes of traffic and pedestrian traffic. This project historically has been on our prioritized projects list. I did a little bit of digging prior to our meeting, and I saw back in 2013, which is a good bit, predates my tenure with the city. It had been identified in our MPO's original prioritized project list. This is this 1-page map of our planning area that is barely legible, tiny font. But on it, it shows the Bloomfield Bridge as project number 2 and needed replacing the overpass. I also have another 1-pager that has tabled. This was a 2015 priority list that the NPO had developed with the Bloomfield Bridge being ranked as a high-level priority number 2 on that list for a bridge replacement. Part of the challenges that we have with this specific project is the condition of the bridge. It is inspected by MoDOT and it has been found to be in good condition. It hasn't been found to be structurally deficient. But in our planning committee's conversations, A lot of the need arises as the bridge services a heavily commercialized area and really accommodates zero pedestrian traffic. So they wanted to be able to communicate that this is a high level priority for the area and wanted it as a tier 2 project. They saw it more as a 5 to 10 year out planned project. So what I had shared with our planning committee is we discussed the various projects and what they ultimately recommended, which is what is before you. We also have our metropolitan transportation plan that we'll be undertaking this fiscal year, and it will actually go into fiscal year 2026. We're also currently conducting our regional trail plan, which will establish proposed trail connections between both the city of Jackson and the city of Cape Girardeau. So in saying that, we recognize that there's going to be a number of projects that are going to come to fruition as we engage with the public during those planning processes. So the idea was keep the list somewhat similar to what we had discussed last year, with the understanding we'll most likely have new identified projects to add in the coming year. Any
Alex,
questions?
I'm sorry, I just had one quick question. Are the different items prioritized on the list? In other words, if it's ranked 1 in tier 1, does that mean it's kind of more of a priority than the second one listed in tier 1?
I think priority is a little bit of a misnomer, as
Okay.
in tier 1 really signifies the status of the project.
I
All of-
see.
All of these unfunded needs, I would say, are priorities. They just don't have funding behind them.
Got it.
What elevates it to a tier, at least the guidance given to us to elevate it to a tier is tier 1 is really reserved for projects that are ready to go, essentially. We understand what the problem is. We know how we want to fix it. We just don't have the funds to do it. And if we had the funds, we could do it within a 5-year time frame. Tier 2 is more 5 to 10 years out. It may have some scoping, but the actual solution may still be up in the air. And tier 3 is a further extension of tier 2, probably more like 10 to 15 years out.
Okay. So in other words, if some unexpected funding source came in for even something in tier 2 or 3, that might bump it up to tier 1, just hypothetically.
Yeah, I'm certain. in
Like we had
different scenarios.
TTF7 money that was earmarked for Bloomfield Road Bridge approaches and those type of things, let MoDOT take care of the middle.
Not sure if that's gonna happen, but
TTF7 is a clear slate right now.
okay, no, just checking. Thank you.
They can move straight from tier 3 to funded. I think
Right,
that's
right.
what.
Any further discussion on the unfunded students list? Not, I would take a motion to approve it as presented. Have a motion to Mr. Herbst. Second,
Second.
Mr. Roach, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained. Moving on to item C, Safe Streets for All Comprehensive Safety Action Plan.
The program came in last month to our planning committee meeting and hosted their project kickoff meeting. And they shared a presentation where they broke out the project into 5 different tasks. That is your handout here with the bicyclist on the cover, got a staple on it. I'll just briefly go over the tasks and the timeline and then see if folks have questions.
Safe Streets for All.
Are you doing?
Safe Streets.
Oh, I have it in front of my notes. Apologize, I'll switch gears here. So the Safe Streets of Law. That's your other staple horizontal handout. This is just our project update from our consultants for the month of May or April. Right now, we're close to the light at the end of the tunnel. Right now, they're working on developing policy and program recommendations They're working on finalizing a list of safety countermeasures, that their safety toolkits that they reference. They're also finalizing the project list and the location prioritization. We should have a draft. Should have a draft by the end of July. That'll give us August and September to issue comments, have those incorporated. And then we'll look to have a third open house in October. That'll keep us on track to have the plan completed by the end of December, adopted by our board by the end of January, and then a final report issued to Federal Highway by the end of March. Questions on our safe streets and roads for all projects?
Further questions, we'll go ahead and move on. The regional trail connection study.
Okay, now you can pull out that other hand. So the 5 tasks of the project, we are done with task 1. That was our project kickoff. Our consultants came down, and on top of the presentation they provided to our planning committee, they also spent a day biking and rollerblading our trail system. So they have firsthand knowledge of where some of the lack of connections are. Task 2 will be the discovery phase. We're currently in task 2. That runs from April to June. That's where they'll be developing their mapping, existing conditions, establishing vision and goals, and creating an online survey. Task 3 will run from July to August. That'll be the routing analysis. That'll be where they identify 3 different alignment options. They'll develop an evaluation matrix and an alignment analysis. They'll hold steering committee meetings, and they'll culminate that with a public meeting. Then we'll move into task 4. That'll be between September and November. That'll be recommendations of implementation, where they develop an implementation plan, planning level costs. They'll put draft recommendations, and we'll host a public meeting. Then we'll move into the final task, which is developing the draft report and the final report. That'll be from December to February. We will complete the project February of our fiscal year 2025.
You don't have any further questions for Alex on the trails? That's it. Okay, we'll move on then to the intersection studies.
We finalized our Route corridor study that was accepted by our stakeholders back in March. And I recently spoke with our consultants, and they plan to have our final report for our 621 and Perryville Road by the end of the month. So I'll be sharing that as soon as I receive it from our consultants. I was impressed with the Route corridor study, so but this one's comparable to that one.
Any further questions? Tool select.
We are still in our 3-month implementation phase. Drew and I meet weekly with Eco Interactive on developing our website platform. We do have a test version going right now, but we're looking about late June, most likely July, we'll be going live with it. So this will be, once it's up, I'll give folks a presentation on its features and functionality. But I'd really like to see this used as a communication tool by our members for when they have people asking what state funds and federal funds are being spent in our area. That's a document we show here's what's planned for the next 5 years. And it's an interactive map. They can go in and look at exact locations and beginning and termination spots. So more to come on that.
Follow up on the tip tool. Okay, origin destination.
As folks may remember, we partnered with SEMO Regional Planning, SEMO Ready, the Cape Area Chamber on a subscription with a software called Placer AI. our subscription is for 1 year. It's currently active. And speaking with Drew earlier this month, we're gonna try and schedule maybe June or July, maybe August, a presentation to both the planning committee and the board of its features and functionality.
Questions or comments on that? Okay, we'll move into member reports. We're running backwards. We'll start with Federal Highway.
Oh, there's some talk about the 2.5% set aside for complete streets, going to 100%. That has not been finalized, so until we actually get something in writing from the headquarters, we'll just kind of keep the plan with the 2.5% set aside. It's not, I think that may be changing, maybe next fiscal year.
And they would 100% fund the 2.5% that we dedicate toward.
Yeah, that's kind of being the talks about, but that's just finalized. So, they mentioned that at the other conference. And there's been some confusion with that, but until we get a memo saying that's what headquarters want, we just keep the planning for 2.5%.
For folks' edification, what Dan's referring to is, we were tasked with dedicating 2.5% of the planning funds we received to projects that are multimodal in nature. And for us, I think it equates to around $4,000 or $5,000. I think, if I'm understanding correctly, if it were 100% funded, we would just get that 4,000 or 5,000 additional in planning fund.
But that, it's been talked about, it's something going around there, but until they come up with the memo saying that, so we'll just keep doing it.
IDOT.
Well, and Dan, isn't it that with the, given the smaller MPOs with the amount that we're speaking of, it's something that's been rather difficult for folks to, and the expectation is not significant, I suppose, as far as,
Yeah.
yeah.
And this was kind of brought up, it's when they come up with this idea that everything wasn't quite worked out. This is something that was fairly new, that was sprung on us, so as they've been doing forward, I think they just gonna change gears, but again, until they come out and finalize the memo, that's what we're gonna do. We're just gonna kind of keep on planning for the 2.5% set aside match. But I foresee them doing that. It may be next fiscal year, but we haven't seen anything in writing yet from what I've been hearing. That's in the works, so some groups have been already kind of getting ahead of the curve. Already start planning for the 100%, but as until that memo comes out, just keep on planning for the 2.5%. That's good.
I have nothing else.
Okay.
So, I think all of you know MoDOT's a little unique that we're run by a 6-person commission. Typically they have 6-year, but really serve at the will of the governor. Last meeting, Anne Marie Baker joined the commission. So, was her first meeting. She was approved by the Senate, so she's on the commission, confirmed. It seems noteworthy to me that, while she was the last meeting, that just a little over a couple months ago, we had prior Mayor Slay out of St. Louis City join the commission, and a senator from Northwest, Senator Hageman, became a commissioner. So half of our commission is really brand new. The other half, Dustin Boatwright, right here local, is the chairman, which has a little bit more authority steering the commission. The vice chair is Erdman out of Kansas City, and while I say they normally have 6-year terms, Commissioner Schmidt is well liked by many out of Kansas City or Clinton area, and he's been on the commission about 12 years now, so he brings a lot of experience, but he doesn't make as many trips to Jeff City as Commissioner Boatright does. So I thought all that was noteworthy. During session, we always meet in Jeff City for commission meetings once a month. When you get outside of session, they normally travel to state. This year, they're not traveling to the northern two districts, but they are still coming to southeast Missouri. August 7th, they're supposed to be in Poplar Bluff. So, you know, I don't have all the details on that yet, but that date, you know, if you can make it over to Poplar Bluff, it's always good to see you when they're in town. Tell them what's on your mind. I'll do the best I can to represent the area with projects and needs of what's going on. I thought moving a little bit different. It's been an interesting year with legislation. If you're not following all of it, there's about 1.4 billion that's been proposed by the legislature for transportation projects. Some of the largest, you know, 727 million was for I-44, really looking at 3 different spots in Rolla, Springfield, and Joplin. A few of those things that stick out to me, 100 million for low volume roads. It's the 3rd year in a row that the legislature's come up with $100 million for low volume roads. It's starting to be a trend. I mean, Illinois is used to general revenue, but Missouri's not. And 67 in Butler County was called out with $60 million, and it said up to 90 if they get a raise grant. So that's probably the largest standalone project outside of I-44. So that's a pretty big deal for Southeast. It'd be great to get that done and move on to the next priority of the region. All of this, though, is still pending the governor's signature on the budget. So typically it's mid-June, but it can be as late as July 1st before he signs and reviews to know how many of these projects that he approves of. Last year, he did line item veto several projects to try to stay financially conservative. So I think Chris and Joe probably have better updates on local projects. I just thought that was interesting to share.
Yeah, so I've been busy with Rodney lately, working on putting together some answers for responses to his cost share project that they've got for the lighting project on East Jackson Boulevard. We sent those in today at noon. I think we're meeting tomorrow with central office to kind of go over some of the responses and see if they had any additional further questions. So more to come on that. Beyond that, we've got a couple of big projects in the area that are noteworthy. The Route K and 25 roundabout project. It looks like the contractor is mostly done with the paving on the south side of that intersection, and they plan to switch the traffic control so they can work on the opposite side of the intersection in the near future. The Route 61 project is pretty well the same as probably the last time I reported. They probably got a little bit more paving done than last time. They have started back up the bridge work. They've got the crane in, the bigger crane that was needed for unknown reasons, but and then they've completed the water and the sewer on that project. I think there's still a few utilities out there, but not nearly as challenging as it was in the beginning. We have also held a public meeting recently, and I think a few of you were able to attend for a project that's coming up on Route K. The addition of a turn lane and a eastbound lane from roughly just west of the Notre Dame High School on into Cape. That includes 5 right turn lanes throughout the length of the project, and then potentially some intersection improvements there at the school. Also, we showed the public the signal versions that we come up with, and also the roundabout versions that we come up with, and kind of some different locations and the benefits of some over the other. I think that was all pretty well received. We kind of had a mixed bag of opinions on what people liked. We do look to put that project out for bid this fall. Fall of 2025 with it, and it anticipated completion date of 2026. Something else that I've sent to several of you also is that We do have some property up for sale currently right now. There's about 3.66 acres of prime realty there at Center Junction for sale. That is on Gov Deals if you're interested in it. The final bid on that needs to be placed on June 28th at 3:45 p.m. The starting bid is $625,000 and it goes up from there in $5,000 increments. I talked to Brian Oakenfoos a little bit today. They're kind of struggling right now. The water is up and the majority of the work is kind of halted for the moment. They still are currently working on the Illinois side on a retaining wall. But other than that, everything else is pretty much underwater and they can't really do a whole lot. And then I talked to our resident engineer at the Jackson office, the 72 Millfield project that we put out for bid and successfully awarded. That project, most likely, we don't know yet for sure, but I know we've got some questions about it recently, but most likely some of the concrete work will happen on that project this year, but the paving will probably be pushed off to next year. Project. That's all I got, Joe.
Real quick, I printed up a draft copy or a copy of the draft STIP that's been posted on our website. That was released for comment by the Highway Commission at their commission meeting earlier this month. So if anybody would like to have a look at that, I have a copy of the map as well. The map only shows the first 3 years. That's something we've been doing the last couple of years because just to try to reduce congestion on the map, but I do have a copy of that if anybody would like to look, or you can go to modot.org and there'll be a little banner come across on the screen that you can click on to look at the STIP and kind of have more detail. I'll spend a little bit more in-depth time looking at it if you wish. And we did a presentation. Mike and I went to Boot Hill RPC this morning, did a presentation, and something that kind of jumped out was we talked about funding for locals and in particular, the cost share program, adding up the numbers on the cost share program, there is $100 million available over the next 4 years. And obviously that's statewide. And then for those projects that qualify for economic development, that could potentially be up to 100% funding. There's $32 million available there. And then lastly, the Missouri Transportation Finance Corporation is a low-cost loan program that is also run through the Highway Commission and MoDOT. And there is 42.3 million there. And again, that's low-cost loan, but we've had a number of different projects being funded over the years through that. And I would just encourage you, if you have a project that you might be looking at, to contact us, contact Chris at your earliest convenience and see if there's something we can work out.
Yeah, I do have a question because I don't know much about it, but the low cost loan, does that have to be on the state system too?
No, it is basically every road that is eligible. It's every road that is a federal aid road.
Okay.
Right, it is all federal highway functionally classified highways except local and rural minor collectors.
Would the Bloomfield Bridge qualify for that 100 million?
For cost share?
It said that 100 million statewide, then he says for economic development.
The
No,
32 was,
It's 100 million for the regular cost share program and 32 million for the economic development. But generally, those projects have to be coordinated with Missouri DED. They have to be kind of coordinated in advance as we're kind of going through the application process. And generally, typically those are tied to job creation. If you have someone that's bringing in some kind of industry or something and it has to be non-retail. And in that area in particular, there is a lot of retail that's, it's a heavily commercialized area, but it is non-retail for them, as part of the qualification for economic development.
That would qualify for cost share though, right?
you wanted to pay half, yeah.
It may not, a lot of the questions they're gonna ask is, is there any safety benefit to doing it? Yeah. So it's a competitive process. You have to sell the project. All of us.
You're probably just a little early on Bloomfield. It's kind of in that gray area where it's not quite bad enough to help with everything, but if the city really wanted to go, cost share would be an option.
I may or may not go to Menards a lot, and I live on that end of Cape. So I use Bloomfield Road. I hardly ever go Bloomfield Road up past Chick-fil-A that way. Ever, I just want in Bloomfield, so I live on West End, pop up there. And it's amazing how many people walk across that bridge. Wearing their McDonald's uniform, their Walmart shirt. Going.
Interesting. I drive it quite a bit and I don't,
That'd
I
be
haven't,
the way to get that. Many times more of an evening. 3, 4, 5, 6 o'clock.
the only other thing I'd point out after he finished all his stiff comments is that, the 1.4 billion in general revenue I was talking about, that is almost all from that unfunded needs list. So I mean, there were a couple anomalies in there, but in general, the legislature's really using that list to fuel the needs of the citizens. Help. So that is important to have your current priorities updated.
Sure, you got anything else?
I know I don't have anything. Mike might have something to add.
Mike, you're up.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. I was having, Zoom was updating on me and it kicked me out earlier. Yeah, I don't have much. You know, we're working on that unfunded needs list. And, little good news, bad news for you. The good news, the 6 lane and the 55, that cost has actually gone down. They're still working with all the estimates, and I'm hoping by the end of the week to have everything, but they're telling me it could be going down significantly. And I guess there was some misunderstanding. I was assuming that we had been estimating widening to the inside, and that wasn't the case. So that's what we're doing now. We're looking at widening to the inside for sure now. So that cost will go down, but you know, the bad news is, like with many other projects, several of the other ones have gone up. And I think our right-of-way estimate, from what I'm hearing, has gone up quite a bit on adding those shoulders on the Route 25 job. That was one of those specifically called out to me, but several other costs have gone up too. So anyway, hopefully by the end of this week, I get these revised numbers, and I'm going to try to get them packaged up to you and sent out to review, hopefully sometime next week. And then, you know, comment and see what we got to do. There may be some trimming, and then we'll get it finalized, and then we'll get it put into our database and out to the public. We're looking at having our yearly unfunded needs public meeting July 25th at SEMPO RPC 4 to 6. So stop by if you can then, July 25th. And then I believe someone mentioned the STIP is out for review. It'll be out for review through the end of the month, through May 30th, I believe. And then we'll present that to the commission July 10th for hopefully commission and $1 approval. That's it.
All right, we'll go on to Kate Director.
Thank you to report around here.
All right. Kate Director.
A couple of things, actually. We've got our paving contract in. I forget how much it was. It's just a little less than what it was last year. It's pretty good because we put in I don't know all those engineering terms. That's why I'm not the transportation guy. Kemper is, but we use what MoDOT uses in there, the fuel number for the
Fuel
oil
index?
or whatever.
Yeah.
So we're gonna see how that works out with this vendor. So paving pros got it again. Same thing we got last year, and so I think a good summer. We're gonna plan to pave 2.78 of brand new miles. That's good, and we're gonna overlay about 18 miles. We get a little grief while you're overlaying all those roads when you need to pave mine brand new, but you all know that those first roads were paved in 2007. I tell people, it's like you got to put a new roof on your house. If we don't put the roof on that road now, then we're going to lose it as we go on. So being able to overlay 18 miles is huge. That's good for that. We've got 2 roads, County Road 330, 335, kind kind of out. Bear Road's out there by Fee and out that way. Coca-Cola, Greenbrier, you know, out that way, or people out that way that, all county road speed limits is 60 miles an hour by statute, unless the commission lowers it. Cape Special Road District, prior to me becoming on the commission, all the Cape Special Road District roads are 35 miles. People don't drive 35 miles an hour, but they're 30 miles an hour blanket across there. And so 330 wants to, that's where our Christmas tree farm is, that kind of stuff. They want to lower that one to 40. And 335 neighbors, which goes down and intersects down there, say, hey, we'd like to get on that list too. So they've got a petition that they brought in, and then we have to set 3 public hearings and put it in the paper and all kinds of stuff to be able to do that. Other thing is we got our letter from ODOT about no more beautification or anything in their sign, which is fine. Cape County has we picked up the meeting that we've got an agreement with ODOT separate with beautification. I don't even know what we actually call that agreement, but
That's what it's called.
MOU for the maintain the medians there. So we pick up trash there every single day up through there. The deer always cross right by the deer crossing sign, so that's perfect. That sign there, it is funny. That's where they grow. From there, so usually conservation department kind of helps us, those there. And so MoDOT has graciously brought us some topsoil up there, and we're gonna kind of work with them a little bit. And so Brian's gonna get a little bit about maybe get some riprap where that is eroding on that south side of that, maybe some riprap right along there in that ditch. You want to touch base with him, Chris?
Yeah.
On that, we could probably get it placed too, down through there, kind of dress that up and everything. 'Cause it is, I mean, people come indicate that it's kind of a focal point there at that DEI, so get that taken care of. So, that's about it.
There's just no more sign. You're still helping pick up.
Oh, yeah, no, okay. We're still out there. Take care of stuff. Appreciate the partnership.
Be appreciated.
City of Jackson.
Just routine road, bridge, sidewalk maintenance.
City of Cape, Mayor Ginder.
Yes. Well, the biggest news is that we're in the process of forming the Transportation Trust Fund 7 committee. This obviously will be the 7th iteration of the TTF program that's been going, basically a tax initiative that's been approved 6 prior times. So it's a huge program in the city. The committee will do a lot of work between now through November, and then ultimately create a road project list that would guide the next 5 years worth of projects in the city. The city council would expect to approve that list in December and vote to put it on the April 2025 ballot so that the voters can have a say. But it would be an extension of the current half-cent sales tax that we've had for going on 30 years now. That's all I have.
Okay. That's the end of our member reports, so we'll go on to the staff reports.
Nothing to report.
Nothing to report. Any other business or comments for the group? Hearing none, can I have a motion to adjourn? Have a motion, a second. All in favor? Stand there. Thank you very much.
Oh, yeah, yes.
Yeah, this is, I was at the Humboldt conference last week, and they were talking about this, this is the last week to me, so I
Because we've got that.
followed up with April, and we said, we're finalizing that, we're not. Something we're thinking about doing,
Yeah, Betsy, Betsy Precious.
you know, on down.
Mentioned that.
Some of our,
Yeah, I've seen these, but Gateway, I can't remember. Yes.
We're hoping, yeah, they, 10 to 6, drop the estimate.